Death by noise.
Through dark veil, space, time.
Yes, I like it.
This is Warp Chatter!
Sweet mother of the abyss!
There's a great deal of work to do.
Okay. Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Warp Chatter podcast. This is the podcast dedicated to talking about the Horus Heresy Legion's digital card game, Horus Heresy lore, Warhammer 40,000, everything else that may encompass. I am your host, Scuff D, and this is a podcast by players for players. And joining me today, as usual, is my crab co-host, Axel Manning.
Howdy, howdy, ho, folks.
And also joining us as a guest today is Rubersmoon.
Hey guys, I'm over here.
All right, so we have got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. We've had a lot of new additions to the game in this last week, following the announcement, obviously, for the Q&A and the announcement for the Galaxy in Flames, which added new cards. So this episode, we're primarily going to be talking about the first wave, the first batch of cards for the 6 legions that is featured in Wave 1. Probably going to be talking about the event that is kicking it off as well, and maybe even the campaign. There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot of other things to discuss. But first, what we usually do is we give some time for player introductions because, as I said, this is a podcast by players for players. So, Rubersmoon, this is your first time on the podcast. Would you like to tell us about yourself?
Yes, for sure. So, this is a podcast that I usually listen to in my free time, so I was pretty eager to join you here. I'm just a player that's been around for quite a while, since the start of the game, basically. I'm from the Masterclass community right now. And, well, that's really it. I usually play Raven Guard, Alpha Legion, those kind of weird playstyle legions. Those are the ones that appeal to me the most. I actually start playing this game because I also play on the tabletop, Warhammer 40,000. I started in 8th edition because it started appealing to the casuals and all the stuff. And then I dropped it because I couldn't really follow up with all the primaries, models, and everything. And I started going into video games a little bit harder, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the model range is definitely hard to follow, especially when they keep pumping out new ones, and they're not very price friendly. I mean, they can be pretty costly just to even get started. Was there a particular army or chapter that you played?
Yes, I played Grey Knights, and it was getting kind of ridiculous when every Primaris model that was coming out was like twice the size of a regular Grey Knight power armor guy. So, yeah. I kind of lost.
Terminator armor. Ouch.
Well, there's kind of Terminator armors from Primaris too, so.
Oh, yeah. They have their aggressors, I guess. They're weird. I don't follow Primaris much because I'm a Chaos guy. I don't need to know.
You got a couple feats added onto you, right? Like, they grew up in the warp or something.
We got some new stuff. Chaos gets its love.
Chaos gets it, yeah, exactly. Death Guard's got their big and bulky guys. I think now they're bringing them up to scale. Supposedly, although I've seen posts where they try to say that they've always been the same scale. I don't know. I mean, Primaris are noticeably bigger than the old school stuff. I know that they were supposed to. I think they were just recently doing a Primaris Grey Knight upgrade, which is interesting because, you know, lore-wise, it's kind of hard to understand how the Grey Knights would get access to Primaris tech without having to kill anybody who knows about their existence, because that's kind of their thing. I remember when I started playing, the Grey Knights they didn't even have their first codex, and then they had the first codex, which was very strong, but then quickly outclassed, and the one that came out with the I forget was it the Dread Knight? Was that the Walker?
Yeah,
Yes.
Dread Knight's the Walker.
Yeah, the game at that point as a whole was in a very bonkers state. Like there was big focus on flyers and everything would just had crazy rules. But I really did enjoy that codex because I felt like it really expanded the lore, even though that's a point of contention for a lot of people depending on the characters that you're talking about, like Kaldor Drago.
Woo, Drago!
But I thought overall it was a pretty good book for lore wise, and made them like, these are the uber demon hunter, like if anybody's going to purge demons, it's going to be the Grey Knights. But then at the same time, they're so secretive that if you ally with them, you're not going to be living through the encounter. And like only because Dante had such clout when they came and assisted the Blood Angels did they just erase his memory. Like otherwise it could have been a whole lot worse. So I always think that's interesting. And then somehow they're trying to upgrade them with Primaris. It's like, well, how did they get that tech? I don't know.
That's changed slightly lately with the just the occurrence of demons happening more. They can't destroy every Space Marine chapter. But they just now go, if the normal people ran into demons, they die. The Space Marines can be fine. We'll leave them alone. Like the Space Wolves are fully aware of the Grey Knights because of how many times they had to fight demons together. In fact, the Grey Knights and the Space Wolves got into a fight once.
It's just like you again. Oh, it's like Green Arrow and Batman ran into each other all the time.
My favorite part about that interaction is it has the Dreadnought, Bjorn, I think his name is, hitting on an Inquisitor. On he wakes up, tells the Grey Knights and the Space Wolves to fuck off and stop it, hits on an Inquisitor, and then leaves.
It's very Space Wolfy.
Because it is very Space Wolfy.
Was at the time that the Dark Angels were also involved? Because I can't quite remember the thing about the Inquisitor, but yeah, it was pretty bizarre interaction overall with the whole ordeal.
That entire thing was cool.
What
it was Armageddon.
What was that? Was that the book? Was Armageddon, or was it a different book?
I forget.
It was one about Magnus and stuff. Everyone came together against Magnus once, and Space Wolves got caught with the thing, with the mutations and stuff, and Dark Angels also got involved in there. So it was a four-way there.
Okay, yeah. It wasn't Battle of the Fang, though, right? It came after Battle of the Fang?
Well, couldn't tell.
The one I'm referencing, I think, was the second War of Armageddon, maybe the first one.
Okay. Well, isn't that the one, because I'm trying to remember, but I'm a little hazy. They were on Armageddon, and if I remember correctly, did they banish Angron?
Yep, Angron.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I remember.
It took like 100 and something Grey Knights, and I think almost all of them died in the process.
Correct.
They got him. Yeah,
but they did manage to banish him. And then another encounter with Mortarion was the one where what's his face carved his name on Mortarion's heart before he banished him. Kind of like a total. Reading that lore was pretty epic because it's like, man, that's badass. Like.
Total disrespect.
Yeah, if you're a Mortarion or Death Guard fan, you're not going to like it, but at the same time, like that's like, not only am I going to banish you, but you will know on your heart my name will always be there. Like that's just very, I don't know, like that whole story was very cool to me.
That was a good one.
Well, the Grey Knights are not something that's going to be in Legions for obvious reasons.
We got close though. We got the agents. We got the proto Grey Knights.
I'll take it. I'll take the Knights Errant.
Yeah, it's pretty similar.
But
don't quite like them though.
You don't like them? Is it just the playstyle, or what don't you like?
Yes, I think it's the playstyle. Looks a little bit too streamlined towards troop interactions, stealth interactions. The Arvida deck that came out, which is kind of combo playstyle. I don't really like the way it plays with the Astral Incursion. Need to set up that. Yes, I don't really like them. Nothing really specific, but they're not in one of my favorite factions. They don't really have reactivity, really. Like flanking units, big tactics outside that do damage outside of Malkador's case and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which, I mean, betting on RNG is never really fun.
Yes, and yes, the shield system looks a little bit of an afterthought in some games. Like, very rarely do decks focus on it outside of Malkador, and they can just ruin the game, like high rolling a Sisterhood seal, like that they didn't even mean to create. Like that doesn't really feel too well when facing against it.
Yeah, I've been playing Blood Angels lately, and getting hit with a Sister Seal after I play something like Host of Angels just hurts.
Yes. And sometimes that's not how you want to go for it, because that's the answer, but it does hurt, because it's like, yeah.
I'm pretty sure even the Sigilites player doesn't like it, because he's not really expecting to draw it. Like, he's not banking on it, so if he gets it, he's just feeling like a little bit spoiled or something. Not like he earned the play or anything. Yeah. Well, that's just my hypothesis.
Yeah, Seals in their own can of worm. I do like how they're just better existing cards, with a few exceptions.
Yes.
Yeah, Chosen the Sigilate is the one that everybody goes off of. But like you said, they don't have flankers. They don't have high damage tactics. So that's kind of their style. Set up and then take advantage of the setup. It's different. And obviously, if you prefer the Alpha Legion and the Raven Guard playstyle, which is a lot more like the setup is in your hand in those decks a lot of the time, like you are playing from your hand, and that's going to give you the pieces. You don't have to rely on get established on the board, or with the seals, like the generation, like bank on what your opponent is doing. So it is a different kind of game outside of the aggro, but they're not the same.
Yes. So the thing I was actually talking about was a different whole Warzone, the Grey Knights and Dark Angels and Thousand Suns thing. I looked it up, and it was Wrath of Magnus campaign book, not Second War of Armageddon. I was talking about a whole different thing.
Yeah, I was talking about the second. I was talking about the Second War while you were talking about that, because that was when the Space Wolves and the Grey Knights kind of got into a tussle.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a Forge World book?
No, it was a campaign book that they used to release with. I think it was when Thousand Suns got released into the tabletop in 7th edition.
Okay. And then is that like right when they it was before they put out the Magnus model, though, right?
The new models, I mean.
Yes.
They were already around, but the new models and the codex specific for them.
Yeah. There's some fun lore with the Grey Knights. I've always liked them as the guys who show up to fuck with a demon and then peace out.
That's what they came for. They came to do two things. Kill demons
and kill civilians.
No chewing bubble.
And they're all out of civilians.
Yep.
That's why they got into a fight with the Space Wolves, because the Space Wolves really didn't like them shooting civilians.
No, I think it was because about the whole mutation thing. I can't really remember. It was quite a while ago.
Yeah, in the Second War of Armageddon, though, the civilians were leaving, and they were getting their ships shot down by the Grey Knights. So the Space Wolves put their ships in between and went, "No, you can't do this. They're leaving."
What a sin!
We've got the White Scars patch that came out just a day before the event kicked off, and that basically laid the groundwork for Streak, and gave us a few things with Streak, because I think some people weren't aware that they were going to be updating the White Scars cards as well as the cards that were coming out for the faction. Because I think I've
noticed some people like that.
Yeah, I think some people just saw the teaser and they're like, "Well, that's not so great." But then they did this patch, and there's quite a few cards that gain Streak. Some of it feels like it is the same card as it was before, but now the bonus effect is basically a streak effect. So you have a conditional versus it was a given, or it was a different kind of condition. But overall, just run through the patch and kind of talk about the patch. I feel like we can't talk about the patch by itself. We kind of have to talk about the patch with the new cards, and I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, it was a 1 day difference, so
yeah, exactly.
It's just a really big patch.
Yeah. So Kandali Scouts has got Rally, deal 1 damage. If target dies, return it to your hand. That's that 1/2 scout.
I love that card so much.
I think
it's the second best White Scar card in the whole faction.
Yeah,
no.
it's super important.
We went from dreading seeing Defenders of Caliban and their stupid Jaegers to, for 1 energy, it's going to go away.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Not an issue anymore.
Completely game changer.
Yeah, I love it.
Kublai Bikes had its attack increased to 3 instead of a 2, and its description is flank. It has streak now, and it creates Kublai Bikes in your hand. And that is, right now, what's sweeping the event. I think primarily if you're playing 1 Kublai, you've got unlimited Kublai, essentially.
Yeah, they need to be calmed down a bit. And by a bit,
it's basically,
they might... I don't want to say get the Rotfly treatment, where it's Kublai Bikes, but can't use its streak. But I don't know what they can currently do to it, except maybe reduce its stats, because like infinite 3/3 flankers is very annoying, especially in an event where he gets his energy back.
I'm okay if it was just like create a copy in your deck, or maybe even create a copy and draw a card, although that might be too much. But I mean, that way you're not playing 3/3 like for 9 energy. You could technically play 4 Kublai Bikes with the event warlord.
Yeah.
Yes, it's basically what if Smirnov's Warriors was 2 energy and had flank.
Right.
So, and there was no condition for it. So it really just defeats the whole plan of value game when that card is in one of the 2 players' decks.
And it's hard to respond to because it's a flanker that's coming from his hand. So I guess there's really nothing to stop it. I guess Trap could take out one of them, but the rest of them are still coming.
Yep.
Yes. What I would do actually was keep the effect, but instead of Kublai Bike, generate Condalia Scouts. So it works, but Condalia Scouts is basically streak synergy support.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of keeping the same playstyle, like still generating value with the streak effect, and also helping future streaks, but not making infinite value available to the White Scar players.
Well, I think
adding to the likes to decks is also fine, but
Captain Hakim has his attack increased from 2 to 3, and now his description is totally different than what it used to be.
Completely reworked. Yeah, completely different.
Now he has sneak attack, but when you trigger streak, he gains stealth until your next turn.
I don't use him often, but I do like this change, because now if I'm not playing Con, of course, because, Reckoning, you have a body that, as long as you're keeping the streak combo up, is a consistent 3/3 sneak attack that they gotta deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Not like you really need it with Bikes.
It's pretty good, honestly. Yeah, I like this change.
My only downside with it, I think it's a better ability than it was before. My only downside with it is him having a 3 health. Because basically you're not getting his streak off unless you're playing at 4 to 6 energy for him to actually get it. So then at 4 to 6 energy, there's a lot of things that do 3 damage, either board wide or 2 stealth units and stuff like that. So I just feel like that's a little understaffed, but I mean, if you can keep it going, he definitely is going to be hidden for quite a while.
Yeah, but it's a 3-drop after all. Like, you're not really investing that much in that troop.
Right.
Your deck was already planning on playing the streak game with the combos, so you're not really disappointed if he dies, if he draws an Informant Network or a removal spell. I think it's pretty cool card now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was a lot better than here's Jubok, but not as good.
Right. Tanghai Attack Bikes had its attack lowered from 3 to 2, but its description is now fast. Streak, deal 2 damage to random enemy. And this used to be just a 3/3 fast.
Yeah. This is not exactly great, but it does help tone down, because if you just buff the faction wide, that can create problems. So I'm fine with this.
Yeah,
I'm honestly not sure if this was meant to be a buff or a nerf.
Yeah.
But sometimes it works as both. I think it was meant to reduce the power of OTK Quincha with the Outriders combo. It would be like 4 less damage overall, because it usually ignores the enemy board, so the random pinging would go into enemy troops that you don't care about. So, but they also gave it the new 2-1 fast bike, so it doesn't really get nerfed. It's just side graded. So
yeah, it's a side grade. Which, to be fair, if you're gonna do some buffs, there needs to be some of those.
Yeah, and it's a little. I mean, if you want streak, there's a little extra streak to it. It's still fast. It's not.
Yes, of course. Another streak trigger.
Yeah, exactly.
And theoretically, if there's no troops on the enemy board, you're getting 4 damage to the Warlord. That's still good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Vandali Bike's health was up to 3, and then they gained flank, streak, gained sneak attack this turn. I feel like they just gave them the extra health, and then the sneak attack feels like a kicker, right? Like they used to have, like, gain sneak attack this turn.
Yeah.
I actually really like this card before the change, and I'm not really sure about the point of the change either, because it wasn't really seeing that much play. It was good in Jagatai Khan, because it was gonna die in the enemy turn always, because it's 2 health.
Mm-hmm.
An enemy will just face bash it in the worst case scenario. So wasn't problematic, so I guess this was intended to be a buff, but now it's really awkward to play on curve. I guess it's just a 6 or 5 drop now. I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the examples of, well, we need more streak cards. We'll just make this a streak card.
Do you know what this could have been? Same text as before, but add streak effect, do nothing. Like, that would have been fine with me, honestly.
Yeah.
Streak effect, end your turn.
Well, you couldn't attack with it.
No, but that's the point.
Oh, right. I really wanted it nerfed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those changes that didn't need to happen, but, like, the world's... I'm not losing sleep over it, I guess.
It's fine. I wasn't that in love with it. It was fine.
Yeah.
Well, Akutai Headtaker was... They upped his health to 5, so now he's a 5/5, and now he has First Strike, which he had before, but when you trigger Streak, he gains Precognition till your next turn.
I like this one.
I think...
Actually pretty decently.
Yeah, I think this is obviously a way better version than what he was before as an epic troop.
Yeah.
It never saw play.
Oh, yeah. Like, Headtaker, and his original version they were going to launch, wasn't he like a 6/5 or something, but then they lowered his stats?
I think so.
I forgot. All I know
I think he was a 5/5.
Oh, was he a 5/5 originally? All I know is that he was better than his current version, and then we got one that you can't use in their deck, because he's just not fast enough.
Yes.
And he's too, like, low HP. But now, like,
I'm actually in love with this change.
Yeah, Precog's making him stick, because in more cases than not, Ward is less of an issue to me than Precog. Because I normally have a flanker or something just waiting to be used, but not often do I have a hard removal I can just freely use and then do more with my turn. At least with most flankers, you can pop it, and then you still got other cards to play.
Yeah, and if you don't have a hard removal,
really
you've got to rely on multiple damage cards, so you're spending more to get rid of this 5, because otherwise, First Strike with pretty much guaranteed precog, well, I can't say guaranteed, but a high guarantee of precog every turn.
When you talk about streak cards, assume the streak's going off.
Exactly. Exactly. Anagal Veterans was changed to your Warlord has +1/+0, but now Streak, it gives an additional +2/+0 to your Warlord this turn. I really like this change.
I don't think it matters personally. Like, it's gonna be the same as always, because the Streak effect on a 5 energy card kinda gets awkward if you're trying to play it early game, and until turn 10 or turn 9, it's kinda hard to activate, so... And this was not a good card by itself before the buff, so...
Yeah. I feel like that's an example of the new 1/2s being pretty good. Like, that, the return to hand change, the biggest part to that is, to me, is the fact that I can now, like, trigger streaks easily, because more often than not, there'll be something I can ping. Again, it's another way to say that card was a really good change to help in the end.
Won't be seeing the light of day, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree there.
It's all right. I think because if you drop it down right, and you have to play your deck with making your warlord have a high attack. You can make your warlord with like if he's got the Dow late game. He's not a play on early, but I mean late game that's a 8 attack warlord, maybe more if you've played other cards.
You can have some fun there. It won't exactly be the best deck because it's not really playing into the combo that White Scars are usually good at, but still solid. Maybe not amazing, but it's solid. At least that's my take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually what I think about the previous card, the Head Taker. It's a lovely effect and it's amazing design, but it doesn't play with White Scars really. You're not looking to get favorable trades on the mid game or late game or anything. You're just looking to end the game by 10 and do some weird combos and fast damage from hand and 20 damage from hand unexpectedly. So I wish I could play it because it's super cool design, but yeah.
It's one of those cards that you want to include in your deck really bad, but you also don't want to drop the 100 points.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I have
it's not bad, but it just doesn't fit with the decks right now of White Scars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just such a shame.
The Iban Keshig is now changed to a frontline 0 energy. Your next troop this turn costs 2 less. And this is a kind of an interesting change because before he had Rally remove stealth from a random unit.
Yeah. It was weird. He went from stealth hate to troop reduction. Troop reduction is still good, depending on if you can use it to set up a 1-turn kill, but if you can't, it kind of just exists now. He is nice as a body, because he's a good-sized body as a frontline.
Yeah.
You don't really need them as White Scars.
I didn't understand the change, honestly, because the ability is super mediocre, because there's neutral cards for 4 energy that have the same effect. The anti-stealth wasn't really important because it wasn't played for the anti-stealth anyway. You want anti-stealth to be killing Vindicary Assassin, Kalidos Assassin, like those kind of drops in the turn 5 to turn 4, or even more Dathan. And this one already comes late. You can't really rely on a 7 drop to be your anti-stealth. So it was kind of pointless anyway, not much missed, but the ability right now, I think it's even more pointless, because you're missing 6 damage from the troop. It doesn't have Connect again, obviously. So you're missing 6 damage from the troop to get 2 more energy this turn. I'm not sure if that makes a lot of sense.
No, I know exactly what you're saying, and it's not needed. It's one of those things where if any time you'll see it played, it's simply because it's a body with big stats, and that's it. Even then, the stats aren't that big.
Yeah,
they're okay. Vanilla stats.
Yeah.
But you are looking for that in a White Scars deck again.
Yeah.
And the Thunderhead Predator was changed to Rally, deal 2 damage, and now Streak, it deals 3 additional damage, and before the damage it was dealing was to a random unit. So this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, no, I like this one.
This is like Marcellus's little brother?
Yeah.
In another faction? Oh, yeah. Kind of cool.
This was a solid change. I was actually pretty happy with this one.
Yes. It wasn't able to be included in decks, in constructed decks, and now it actually could be in some weird mid-range decks. Yeah, like
street combo decks, particularly if we get this guy as a 5th, will be pretty good.
Like it.
Yeah. Overall, I'm happy with it.
Stat line isn't too great, obviously, but that's just the Marcellus effect, and it's even easier to trigger, I'd say, than Marcellus, because Streak with the Kondali Scouts now is really good. Even Drilling Sights, Arbus Lighter, Void Engagement, Lectitude Initatus. Well, as you said earlier, it's just basically a free add-on.
Yeah.
All right, and Tempestuous Orders had its cost lowered all the way to 1, and now has its changed its description to return a friendly troop to your hand. Streak, give it +1/+0. I think that's the energy drop is really helpful, especially with setting up a streak or setting up a streak with another fast troop that comes out again.
So this was actually one of the changes that I liked the most. And I think it's also balanced because it actually plays into what White Scars want to do. It used to be completely useless before. It gave sacrifice to your troops. return to your deck and draw a card, which isn't really very good. That's basically Hope from the Salamanders, which costed 2 and got chains. You have to admit that white cards have a little more flankers and fast units than Salamanders, but it was still bad.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
One or two. One, I think.
One's being generous. We'll just go with none and call it a day.
Well, so now it actually triggers Streak, which is a very important effect with the mission, and returns a troop to hand, which is kind of important too for the combos with the Outriders, get the damage buff again, even setting up for future volleys of fast units again. I really like this one, yes. Went from completely unplayable to a card you actually consider when building a deck.
Yes.
With the current theme of white scars on top of that.
Yep.
Just so far.
Yeah, another one.
Let's keep that going.
Another one I liked was Choguris, which is change the description to choose a vehicle from your deck and draw it, but Streak, it costs 2 less.
Well, this one's really overpowered, I think. Like the biggest change after Light Bikes. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I dig it.
It's really bad if you for 3 energy play your mission and then play this out the gate and then pick up Kumblai in the event, then you can even play the Kumblai and get, lower your mission by 2 in the first turn.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
I was actually playing Choguris in my previous decks before the patch to fetch me bikes that I had already sent back to my deck with Targeted Sacrifice, because they would be 0 energy, and I was setting up for the Quincha combo, which does like 30 damage in 1 turn. So having another biker's cost 0 energy was really important, and I was using it basically like that. And now it's just, it doesn't even need any Targeted Sacrifice gimmicks or anything, because now it's just extremely valuable overall, like tutoring and also reducing cost in this faction is so powerful.
Yeah, especially when
like
you're choosing.
That was a strong approach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Swift Strike was changed to deal 2 damage, and now instead of if unit dies, draw a card. Now it's just Streak, draw a card.
Which,
when you have mission, you draw 2 cards. So I actually understand the change now. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, originally I looked at that and I went, I kind of liked it being similar to Ashen Claw and stuff, but yeah, making it draw, like,
it was good before, and now it also is, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good change overall.
Yep.
I'm happy with it.
And then Ride the Winds is increased. Now it's to 2, it costs 3, but now it gives +1 to vehicles in your hand and deck, and then for Streak you get a draw vehicle. This is another good change too.
You saved the best for last. Because really cool now.
And then,
this is strong.
Yeah, and then for the con, big description change: give +2/+02 units, and then Streak heal 2 units, which is an interesting timing, but actually kind of useful for the healing.
Oh, really? I actually feel like all it does new is heal your Warlord for 2, and that's it.
It can heal your Warlord for 2, but like if you've got like a front line that's down on health, or you attack with something that's, well, I'm not going to say something's going to die, but like if you've got a flanker that is going to attack and still kill what it's killing without the attack bonus, then you can kill it, and then heal it, and you're good to go. Normally it's just on the Warlord, but the Warlord needs some healing anyways in some of the games.
Yeah.
Yes. Makes for some sequencing.
I feel like it's a one-of in some decks. Not in every deck, but I'm trying it as a one-of in some decks.
I think it's the difference between a trade and like a draw and a trade. Like the 2 HP can go a distance.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're dealing 2 extra damage and they're healing 2.
Sorry.
Yes. I actually think what might be the strongest deck right now for White Scars, I'm actually running it as a one-off in it, because it's already a deck that will draw every single card of your deck, and by the turn you kill your opponent, you'll usually be charging with 3 or 4 bikes anyway, so this is really efficient damage, especially considering the mission reduces its cost to 2 energy, so you can just fit it anywhere you want, and pretty good damage. I'm not using it for the healing, but just for the can effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And it's pretty
the
decent.
stretching damage. It's not bad for that either. The +2 is pretty useful.
Yeah.
And well, it triggers Streak, which draws you a card again. So
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
We wrapped up the White Scars patch that
Last
came
time
out.
on Dragon Ball Z.
Yes,
the
catching
White
back
Scars
up here. The White Scars patch has been updated, and Planet Namek is about to explode any minute.
for the umpteenth time.
For 30 episodes. But this was obviously just for the White Scars, and then we got all the cards. And I don't think we need to go over every single card because they've been spoiled. They're out there. There's 6 cards for all the factions. But first impressions so far, I don't have all the cards. I'm missing a couple of the missions and a couple of the epics. But first impressions from what has all been, what was teased throughout the week, as well as what got released. What are your guys' thoughts? What cards caught your eye, or what are you interested in playing with?
yeah, so I was thinking that they were all pretty reasonable. Like in the balance department, I was thinking none of them was really overpowered or anything like that, like usually happens when new releases are out. And everything really reasonable, except for one card called Master for Lupercal, which I don't think makes much sense because I think it was intended to be used in Mark of Chaos decks for Sons of Horus, but it actually doesn't synergize all that well with them because Mark of Chaos decks usually want to play the board game with troops, but this card specifically fills your board completely. So if you were already ahead on board with Mark of Chaos troops, you are getting a diminished effect out of this card. And instead, it only helps Born Horus even more, even though it was one of the staples of the meta already. I'd say it was actually the best deck for the season. And yeah, I don't think that was really cool by them for releasing that card.
Yeah, Muster has big issues with it. And not only that, but it's a lot of value. It may not, like on paper, you're spending 7 energy for 6 energy worth of troops. But those are troops you don't have to have in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just going to, and because of the drop pod, there's a 2-step removal. You can't just fucking form and network them all away or a lucky death stats. You got to burn your entire turn to get rid of it. And as an epic card, they can just do it again.
Well, it's not like you're gonna be able to do it anyway, so
Yeah, yeah.
you're just ignoring it and hoping they don't have frontal assault or anything.
If under the highly specific scenario where you can wipe it, they'll just do it again. It's a problem.
And if you decide to ignore it, you're gonna get Vengeful Spirit plus all the 6 times 2 damages, equaling to 22 damage, which Horus really has no issue dealing. So
Yeah. Well, and even it's not even a matter of if you decide to ignore it, because even if you try to handle it, unless you already have a full board yourself, you can't. Like, you might take out 1, maybe 2 if you have like a Vorax and a Tactic or something. You're still going to take, 10 damage or 8 damage plus the Vengeful Spirit the next turn if that's how they play it. I mean, in terms of, and what was one thing when we talked about, I think a couple weeks back we were talking about some of the stuff that had been data mined, and that was one of those cards that had been included in that. The potential for that with Frontal Assault or with Treachery, or if you have completed the Sons of Horus mission and those all landing, and then not only having drop pod, but then also having Marks of Chaos inside of it. It's really, really powerful. Yeah, I have only got 1 copy, so I haven't played with it yet. I don't have Tybalt Mar, so I haven't even got a chance to play with the new Sons of Horus Warlord. But it is one of those ones where I would like to see it played, but I can instantly see how it is not something I would want to face, because I already don't like it when I have to face Host of Angels back to back.
Yeah.
imagine Host of Angels 2 times.
Yeah.
It.
It's a problem.
Yeah, I don't know if there was any cards that I do agree. I think that when they put the cards out, they did a fairly well job, because I mean we only got roughly 6 cards per faction, and that's good. It's a small pool, so if it was going to be like larger, like 10 to 15, I would be a little concerned that there would be a new type or a new build. I think Streak right now, because it's a new mechanic, again, as with most new mechanics, it gets flashy and people get overexcited about it and don't quite figure out how to throw a wrench into it just yet. But the cards that were out for the other factions really just kind of gave a little extra stuff to maybe include in place of other cards, or just at the very least having as like a better option maybe for drafting, because I don't think every card is like amazing. There are a couple that's kind of like the World Leaders. I like their I like the IO
Should we just
care.
Cover each faction in a row?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's start with the Sons of Horus.
Yeah, let's get them out of the way. Muster, it's an issue. Besides that, I like their cards. They're not like their new flanker. That's nice. You won't see him. You won't see him activate that battle honor often as only a 4/3.
Right.
But it's still a good flank.
Mm-hmm.
The Rhino, you get one for market value, so you're not really saving any energy. Embracing Temptation, my opinion at least, that fixes a big problem they have in getting Marks of Chaos.
Right.
Still not a card you'll see over Resupply. Their new Praetor. I mean, a lot of these, they just synergize with Marks of Chaos because that's all their gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's neat. I don't think anything there is inherently broken. If anything, you're going to see some new troop builds. It's just Muster. It's just Muster.
Yeah, I like the mission. It's pretty achievable, but Master is the issue. The other cards are cool. They're not unreasonable. They might have their uses, but they're not brain dead overpowered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what I like.
Yeah, and Mar is a warlord I really enjoy. So seeing him here makes me very happy.
Yeah,
I just wish we got the 3/2 version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of all the warlords that have been released in events for the Sons of Horus, which have been quite a couple, I think that's the one I like the most too.
I agree. I tend to like warlords who've got battle honor, and his works really well with that whole Marks of Chaos on troops. Little Horus Axmund, as a character, was more interesting, but I didn't like his ability a whole lot. And Okram, it was interesting, but not, I don't think, relevant enough to the story. Whereas Tybalt Mar actually has a pretty good arc, and his feud with Shattered Medusan is pretty awesome. I mean, it's got some good highs in those moments. It's actually kind of neat, even though he's a bad guy. I kind of liked that he came out on top in that. So
he had a great, every part of that was amazing.
Yeah. Yep. So then the World Eaters cards, I don't know. I'm not going to play this. I got 3 copies. I only have 1 copy, but I got Chosen of Corn, the mission 3 times, which annoys the crap out of me. But I haven't played with Draeger yet. I really liked that they gave Draeger an ability, because I know just him being Cleave 1, that's pretty generic. But if you're going to make a faction focused on Astartes, and you want to have, or the set rather, the wave, the Galaxy in Flames wave, focus on Astartes, and the problem with the World Eaters is that they have not great troops. Having a warlord that can increase their stats is a good way to go about it. And I also think it's really important to note that his buff is just to Astartes, so he cannot buff those Sark land speeders.
Yeah.
I like Draeger too. I think there was a little issue because in event he used to have starts with an extra card, which maybe not too impressive, but it's actually a lot better than it seems. And I think in his current version, he's weaker than he was in event. I think having the ability is actually worse than starting with an extra card.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree.
Especially
extra card is powerful.
Yeah, especially for this faction, with the World Eaters. Erlin has proof of that. I mean, when he lost his extra card, granted, the other change that went hand in hand with that was the change to Armor of Mars, but that extra card start is hard, especially at 30 health.
Yes, it is hard, bro. Otherwise, about the other cards, well, Chosen of Corn, I really think it's a cool concept. Like the fact that you can achieve it by yourself. You're not relying on your opponent to clear your front lines or your poisonous troops. I think that's cool, but it currently is way too hard of a requirement. I've been testing it a lot, and I've been having to wipe my own board like 3 or 4 times each game to achieve Crimson Harvest. And by the time I achieve it, the game is done. Right. And I don't have a board because I just wiped it to achieve it. So
yeah, I think of all the missions, that is definitely the one where it's like by the time like there are a couple where it feels like it's a win more. This is one where it's like what you've already won or lost. Like by the time this is activated.
Oh yeah, and the worst part is if you do get it when you're losing, it's not going to save you.
Yeah, it's giving +1/+1 to your stuff, and because they're not going to get to attack because they're just going to get traded. Because you're behind. So, yeah, and actually, I think what could be done about this card is change the requirement to receive damage from a friendly source and change it to receive damage on your turn. So you can use it with trading enemy troops, that kind of stuff. For example, it still works with Crumbling Battleground. As it is right now, it's way too hard to achieve because every damage instance, even if it hits for 3, it's still reducing 1 trigger from the cost, well, from the requirement. So either change one of those things, and it should be fine, in my opinion.
I think that's a good idea. Like the damage on your turn, which would also align up with Shabrandar's ability, very similar to how he does that extra ping on his turn, and it kind of gives you a little bit more leeway, especially if the cost is going to remain 12. Because I just feel that cost is so high. That's 12 damage. I mean, regardless of how you say, like amongst different troops, you are dealing 12 damage to troops, and most of the troops in the World Leaders have got maybe 4 to 5 if you're using all the good stuff early on. Like Lork Squad is probably your highest health before you get to Argus Brond. They're only going to take, a damage plus whatever you're using to attack them with. That's 2 damage. So you might get 2 uses out of them for that 1 card, and then you still have 10 more to go.
Well, that's the best case scenario because Ayuker also can do 2 damage and straight up kill your stuff.
Right.
And I also played with, yes, exactly. And I also played with Merciless before I found out that that's how it actually worked. So yeah, I wasn't reducing anything by 3. I was just reducing everything by 1 and doing a couple cards. So yeah, maybe that would change too.
That's just sad.
I like the even though it's really it's a high end card. I like Garrick Squad for the Unstoppable Flank 8/6.
It's pretty good. I think it's
good. Ravager, I think he's called Rampager.
Yeah, the Rampager Squad, Garrick's Rampager Squad. Yeah,
I love the art.
The art is really cool. Yeah, the art feels very classic. I haven't played with the Mandible Rhino, although I do have to say it being a frontline was nice, because I don't think really until you get to the 9-10 slot, World Leaders don't have any frontline. So I don't know. Like I know Combat Frenzy, love the artwork there. The healing 1-tier troops has got potential, especially if you've got like an Aya Care that you are using to ping and damage. I really want to try something with Draeger and just start dropping IO Cares and drilling sites turn 1 and start them getting up and strong. But I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I have the only warlord I've been playing with so far has been the Death Guard one.
Yeah, and he's fun, and everyone gets him for free. People listening, if the campaign is still up, the first campaign, if you don't like campaign, that's fine. The very first one will give you that warlord.
Yes, I think that's a great move, by the way. Just like a quick sidebar, like the campaign, normally you're going to get the rare warlord. So in this case, for Death Guard, it would have been Garrow. But with the new expansion, new cards, and the Death Guard had been out forever, I think that's a really cool move by Everguild to just give the free epic warlord to people, because that's what they're going to want.
Yeah. Everyone wants the new shit. People are hunting Mar right now. People are hunting, him. And I think that's it, actually, for new warlords. Who else? That's all we got, right?
Drager and Mar, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Drager.
I was surprised we didn't get the loyalist warlords. It makes sense because I know we could still have to play to choose them, but I was surprised.
I feel like we're gonna fight over them, and I'm going to hope we get some good options. I don't know what they're gonna do for White Scars because we lost Solomon.
I think the idea is because if they release everything at once, after the expansion, we're just gonna have like another 6 months where there's not gonna be nothing at stake, not even any rewards for them, because these are the warlords that they have prepared to fight for us to fight over.
Mm-hmm.
So what if they released everything now? Then we'll just have vanilla events fighting for carbacks or quotes or anything.
Now
I don't necessarily like that, but I think that's why it's on.
Now, I heard this in the air, and it was said by a Hungarian man we may all know. Apparently, the tents will come with more cards. I don't know how true that is, but I do want to note that Mr. Everguild on last episode did mention that it will not be 2 expansions a year. It will be more.
Well,
so
I don't know if I'm jumping the gun on this or not. Because
this can always be edited in case.
That's true, because this episode will air on Thursday, and I don't know if the news is going to come out before or after that. But that is true. We are going to be getting, after this event folds, we are going to get the next event, which is going to contain new cards for the other 6 factions. Well, I say other, I say 6 other factions.
Yeah, in case that can't be said, Rubersmoon, you have a death oath now. We will find you. Love you.
I think it's been published publicly.
Yeah, I think there was a message somewhere that it got shared.
Yeah.
They haven't mentioned which factions are in that yet.
But I know.
I think Custodes are also not getting them. Sadly,
not out the gate. I don't think. I think they're focusing on the Astartes first. They're going to do all the legions, and then I hope they'll go and add,
which is only 3.
Yeah.
That's only 3 because there's only 18 legions.
Right. So I hope after that they'll go back and add to Ruinstorm, Custodes, Orphans of War, Night Houses, Defenders of Caliban. Like, they're still factions, so they should still get more cards. Is that 6?
Yeah.
Did I count? So, I mean, that's technically, even after they do the Astartes, they could go back and do one more wave to encompass all of those guys.
I mean, that's good to hear. Because I was kind of worried I'd wait a month or 2 before 6 factions get a full upgrade. But
especially if you're waiting for 6 cards, for faction.
Yeah.
Like, when I heard that, I was like, "Oh, that's really good. That's faster than I thought," and I'm okay with it.
And if Galaxy and Flame, all 18 legions getting their things is 1 expansion, and we can expect more than 1 expansion a year, this may be hopeful. HHL may live for a lot longer than a lot of people were saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because even if it's not, a big expansion, if they just decide to make that the new, I don't know, the constant format, but maybe like the new format where basically every event or every 2 to 4 weeks is 6 more cards added to 6 factions, that you could trickle out new content that way for a year or 2, and every now and then maybe even throw in like one whole new faction if they get the approval to do that. There's a lot of potential there without running dry and continuing to give new stuff to the game. Not to mention all the other things that they probably would like to add on there. We didn't get a whole lot of. I mean, we got some information, but I know Mr. Everlow kind of teased. They're working on some really big stuff that they'd like to share at some point. So who knows what else that could encompass?
It will happen eventually.
Yeah,
let's know. Yeah,
which is always good.
Because you got to get that second use for gems. Which...
Oh man, the Holy Land is getting that second fucking use of gems.
I mean, listen, when that happens, you better check your calendars and mark that down, because that's the day to buy a lottery ticket.
I was about to say, buy stocks in Game Workshop. Right. The money will be there.
So with the Death Guard cards, I don't have the new epic for the Death Guard. What do you guys think about the Death Guard? We talked a little bit about the Warlord.
So the Warlord, he's pretty good. He plays similarly to Durak Rask in the way of tempo death card, and that's an archetype that is actually not bad at all. I think he's a side option to Durak Rask, and he's quite strong actually. The ability is really good, really dependable, works with a lot of the death card support cards, and well, just not with Sagard Squad, which was like a staple for every single death card deck until now. He actually works pretty well with a new Warlord. But outside of that, he's got a lot of synergy, even with cards that have never seen the light of day, like Command Bunker, I think it's called, and similar stuff. Yeah, I really like it.
He's a fun Warlord. And Meldon Squads, I kind of compare him a bit to Forex, except what he's producing can not only attack, it has extra HP.
Right.
So buffing it actually means something. It's a good body.
It's also in a faction that actually benefits a lot more from having a Borg, because you can heal it, you can stall with it, so other troops get value traits with their defensive stats. You got Captain Holguard, which wasn't really successful until now, probably, and quite a couple buffs. Also, you can now run Castrax on Death Card, and that wasn't a thing until now, so pretty happy about it.
Yeah, it was a good idea overall. Like even their cards are pretty good. I'm not a big fan of Corrupted Grolger's ability, or just him in general.
I think he's terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan, so.
No, what they need to do is make the legendary card Grolger, put him in play as a backlash, and then I'll be happy.
Yeah, if they changed it instead of a Plague Marine, a Plague Marine to Corrupted Grolger and play, that would be cool.
Because then you would get a good body from him, and that feels like something a legendary should do.
Before
anyone complains, this is a faction with an 8/8 that infinitely comes back.
Yeah, I think
that's not that crazy.
It's interesting that we've got a faction. We've got 2 Grolgers in one faction, but we can't put a second Garrow in the game.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is we need to burn down Everguild's headquarters. Mr. Everguild, I am coming for you.
But yeah, because if you have like 1 or 2 of your Meldon squad survive by 5 energy, you can throw down Purity of Will and just heal them up and then tank up stuff. Or, you could throw down. I like the new 6 energy troop that rallies. Deals damage, which is it's just a little ping, but then you get a big nasty guy. I think I don't have the mission. I want to play the mission both with Morag as well as with Typhoon. I think there's a lot of potential there.
That mission with Meldon Squad guy, that is great.
Yeah, especially if you can put
it's not going to be easy to get. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially if you can put like a Temeter squad behind a Meldon squad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Temeter squad is actually a very fun troop to me, because chem munitions are neat.
Mm-hmm.
As little buffs you can produce, and if you're running that guy, you're getting the front lines to protect them, and you're going to make them burn a damage to get rid of them, or flankers. Either way, they're going to have to deal with him, and he's likely poisonous. Fuck, you can put the chem munitions on your Meldons to get 2/6 front lines every turn for 3 energy. That's not bad. That's pretty good in my opinion.
So even if they flank your poison front lines, the flanker dies. There's you don't lose anything in that exchange, because then you can just make another Meldon.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I like the Death Guard stuff.
I personally think Corrupted Warlord should have flank, like at the very least, because you can't tell me he doesn't have a flanking stand line, and his ability plus his own costs 10 for a reason, like 10 energy. I think they just forgot to add the flank keyword for some reason, personally. Otherwise, this card makes no sense to me.
Yeah, he totally should have it, because, a 5/7 with flank, there's better flankers. That's not that crazy. And his ability, you're never going to see it.
His ability's terrible.
His ability is like Evan Kesheg, to go back to our previous ones that we talked about. No, you're not going to use the ability instead of dealing damage.
Right, exactly. You're just going to smack base. The fact that
would make his ability good? If the flies came out with flank.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That would give him poisonous, just, I'm going to shoot this out, it has unstoppable, so it can go over front lines and shit, and I'm going to poison something you own. I could see that being used. Maybe not often, maybe just as an event draw or like a meme poison deck, but I could see it being used.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I also have an unpopular opinion. I think the Death Guard mission is really, really bad. I also got it from the first day opening, and I've been trying a little to make it work, and there's just no way to go about it. I think most of everyone's opinion on Discord and everything is funded by the fact that they have played the campaign, and there is actually very, very easy to activate the mission, and you always get results out of it, and it's worth it. But in an actual game against real players, it's super hard to activate. Almost, I'd go as far as saying even harder than the World Eaters one, because at least with that one you have control over it instead of hoping your opponent doesn't do anything. We also have a buddy called Orthonaut. He's been defending this exact card for.
Listen, Rubersmoon, that Frenchman will make any card work. Okay, well, he can make Spawn work.
I'm really surprised when he told me that he was wrong about this card and that it was actually bad, as we discussed a ton. So yeah, if even he gave up on this, I really lost my hope about this card personally. He was trying to use it with Miser Scouts with Chemunition to keep a stealther on the board and just get it in 5 turns as soon as possible. But by the point you get it, by the point you can keep a poisonous troop alive, it's like 4, 5, or 6 turns, and then you have to wait another 5 turns because you can't keep a Meldum from the early game alive with poisons. There's just no way. There's way too many answers for that, and your opponent actually knows you have the mission, knows you're going for that, and they just have to deal with that. And also, Death Guard really cannot afford to start with 1 card less. Mortarion cannot absolutely do that. Typhoon, well, you might hate me for this, but I think he just sucks. And Rust is better just plain tempo. If it was good on someone, it would be obviously the new Warlord. But even then, I don't think it's very good, personally. And this is just my opinion.
Yeah, I see missions as like a proto Whispers. You're not most of these missions don't work on the Primarch. Primarily because you're A, reducing your card hand to 1, and B, you have 2 challenges to go throughout a match simultaneously. Like, to me, missions, they're just a way to give like their rares and epics a transformation-esque ability.
I like the idea of the mission. Like when we got them teased, I was curious about how they would play. We've been playing with them a little bit from what I've got from the event, as well as for the other one I've got, and then the campaign. They're not an alt win con. You know, some games have options where, like, if you play this card or you execute this combo, you win the game, and it's a very difficult thing to do. They're not that. They are a reward that, for the most part, feels like a win more reward. Like, if you've already gotten to trigger everything that you need, then you should already be winning. And we kind of mentioned that with the World Eaters one. I think kind of the Sons of Horus one feels the same from what I've talked with a lot of players. They kind of get the same vibe for that. I think the White Scars might be the only exception because of how Streak is working for them. And I don't know if that's just because the event makes it easier to get multiple copies of streaking cards. But, like, typically, and I think the Chosen Nurgle is very similar to Sons of Dorn, because your opponent knows that you're playing this mission, and all they have to do to thwart your mission is to get rid of your Astartes with Frontline so you don't get any tick down. It's not something, you know, it's a great start that like, if you give it to Dorn would actually have a turn 1 play. Sometimes he doesn't. But at the same time, then he really has to double down, and if you are killing his stuff, he's not getting Reckoning, he's not getting a board, he's also not getting his mission, and he's going to be behind from the get-go. Whereas any other Warlord might actually be like, okay, well, I've already got Astartes on the board, I've got Frontline, I'm sitting pretty for whatever else that I'm throwing down there. Like, so if you get the reward, it's cool, but you're probably already winning. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's too new yet to fully know. And obviously, if some of these see some tweaks over the next couple of weeks, maybe that might change things. But yeah,
I hope they do.
Yeah, I hope they do too, because I would like to see them played more. Not by everybody. I don't think they should be for every warlord. It would be neat to see, the rare, like, oh, Mortarion chosen of Nurgle. That's cool. You don't see that all the time, but it's an option. I don't think we will. I think Mortarion will work very fine by himself the way he's been doing, except maybe throwing a couple of these new cards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think that's exactly why Sons of Dawn and the Death Guard one are the worst missions here. Because you absolutely cannot build to complete them, because it's up to your opponent to decide if you complete them or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing with the, like, when you kind of said it earlier, like, I mean, these cards are not, the missions are not dependent on, they shouldn't be dependent on your opponent to play. Because if you're playing, for example, let's say you have a mission that it requires you to kill your opponent's troops. Well, that's a challenge, but if you're facing a Angron or another mono warlord where they don't have any troops to kill, then you have a dead game. And that's actually one thing I think when they did the counterattacks way back when, they were very smart, because every counterattack can be used regardless of whatever matchup. Like, it doesn't matter. They're not all great, but it'll always do something for you, and it's not contingent upon what your opponent has got on the board. You can ping yourself for 1 damage, you can deal 1 damage, you can stun, you can heal, you can increase the health, you can attack. You're never not going to be able to use a counterattack. I feel like...
I will say you shouldn't play the Blood Angel one if they have a Torgal squad on board. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying it'll work, but there's one scenario where I can think of immediately where don't feed their battle honor.
Yeah.
Don't give them that.
But, like, the missions? I don't know. Like, I mean, I think if it's going to be a legendary, if it's going to take up your starting hand, it may not be something that you can achieve every game, but it should be something that you can achieve on your own merits. I think that's something to consider. So, like, if it's like maybe Chosen Urgle, instead of, start your turn with play, increase the cost, play a poisonous troop. Yeah. Because let's be fair, up until this expansion, and this expansion only added, 2? I could be wrong. It just added 1 poisonous unit. So until this expansion,
it added 1 guaranteed and then 2 conditional.
Well, the conditional won't count for the effect, though. So, like, if you're playing the challenge, because the challenge, the old achievement, or I'd say old.
Yes, yeah.
When they have the achievements, put in play a poisonous troop. There are like 3 poisonous troops in the game up until this expansion. You had Battleflies, you had Plague Elite, and then you had the Cordal Squad, that 3/5 with Unstoppable and the Death Guard. That's it. So now we have 4. So if you actually made that your contingent, like play a poisonous troop, or give poison to a troop and maybe increase the cost of it, then that's more conditional on what you can do and not necessarily on what your opponent can react and thwart your mission. And it still would take a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and besides that, the Imperial Fist one, if you've got it, you've already won with Imperial Fist.
Yes.
You managed to keep a front line up for 5 turns. It means they haven't touched your board, and you've been able to develop your Pollux stuff, your turrets, your whatever, your Stalwart Bastion, and you've already won anyway.
Yeah.
A first complex isn't going to do anything for you at that point.
Yep.
Besides that, they got some good cards.
With the Imperial Fist cards, let's go into that, because I like most of what they got. I really like the first of the Templars, for Pollux especially. Everybody keeps, it's not good for, I'm like, well, I don't know. Turn 1, Pollux creates a Garridan squad. Turn 2, he gives it a 4/4 with a Battle Honor heal too. That's cool.
Yeah. That's a 4/6, basically.
Yeah.
I really, really like every Imperial Fist card, basically, except for the mission.
Yeah.
I like them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
The mission is good if you can get it. It's the issue is getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has a pretty cool art.
Yeah. And then, Markov squad will at least help if you're running that, if you get them in your starting hand, because Markov squad is one of their new troops. 1/2 frontline. Rally has put in play another one of them. That's good.
Yeah, especially if you've got a stalwart defenders on, because then you've got 2-1-3 front lines, and that are going to get even stronger.
Or you play them before the Castrok trades with Pollux, or you play them before you trade Dracnian in, or Arcamus, or any of those cards. He's really, really cool. All of them. I like every single card of the Emperor of his card.
They're all good.
The Predator, again, another awesome...
Night Lord fans crying looking at the new Predator tank.
Deal 3 damage if a target dies, gain Bastion 2. I didn't see that at Spoiled, so that was kind of a cool release. Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the World Leader, or not the World, the Blood Angels? Yeah, they're very similar. Both World Leaders and Blood Angels. What do you think about the Blood Angels cards?
This is a bit more iffy on. I don't see me fitting any of these into my decks.
I personally like them. I like the mission just because you get to choose to complete it or not your opponent. Because you can always play Facadian Infantry with Valderon and suicide your stuff yourself, your flankers, all of that. You actually choose to complete it. The reward is really, really bad, really underwhelming. But
you can choose to complete it, but the reward is bad.
Yes, at least you can complete it.
Yeah, I can't see
the cards, the Early Veterans, is really cool in my opinion. It's not necessarily overpowered, but it's exactly what Blood Angels needed because they really lacked a good 4 energy drop outside of Arbeo's command, which and the curve for Blood Angels, which is a really board-centric playstyle, was lacking in the 4 energy department.
Yeah, if you're Sanguinius, you'll probably run the 4/4. What are they called?
McCormick.
Yes, thank you. But besides that, you got him in Command Squad. There's no other option for 4 energy. So you're not putting anything else there. These guys, I can see me putting them. I still prefer the Chariots because of the cleave. And if I face Slam as Sang, they're still going to turn out 3/3. But I do like these troops for non-Sang. Besides that, I can't see me using any of the other ones. I just don't think I can fit them in my Ralderon. Or
you don't think you could Moon Silver Blade with the Incarmine Blade and have a Moon Silver Incarmine Blade?
See, I like that. I really do, but at the same time, it's not something I can reliably do, in my opinion.
I personally think it's bad. The Moon Silver Blade, at best, with Blade and Carmine, which is a card only Sanguinius runs. You need to have it already set up. And then it's just getting you 4 damage, draw a card, but keep in mind, 4 extra damage, 2 for each strike.
Right.
But you need to strike twice. You can't use it on an enemy troop, for example. Your enemy has a 5/4, for example, and another troop you want to trade, and you need to take the damage on both. It's not like Chariot of the Gods where you can just trade efficiently, and you also need the blade to be already on. So I really don't think it's very good.
Right. Yeah, you can deal 8 in that instance, but you're taking 4 minimum.
Yes, of course.
And I mean, personally, I like the idea, but what I don't like is I just don't like factions across the board generally getting this, Warlord gains +2/+0 until your next turn. We've seen that in a couple of other factions. And it just feels, for me, it feels a little uninspired. And it also, I mean, if the goal here is for Astartes and building boards, and then you're, fueling let's do mono. Granted, you don't really have a mono Sanguinius. Sanguinius needs his troops for his reckoning. But it does feel like it's kind of taken away from that concept. And then how do you fit it in? And if you do fit it in, why would you put that versus why not just put the 4/4? Why don't you just have Shock Assault instead of Moon Silver Blade, which it can deal 4 damage and it buff your troops versus you having to take 2 damage to deal 4 damage.
Yeah.
So, I personally don't like it either. So I think Sergeant Narben is interesting at least. It's basically a Furioso squad that doesn't gain how's it called, Berserker. So, and that's actually very good in matchups, in certain matchups. And yeah, I don't think it's terrible. I'd probably run it over Furioso Squad. It's just a little more unreliable, but I think it's slightly better. It's basically the same.
Well, Arvin doesn't buff himself, though, correct?
I think he would, right?
Well, by wording, it says that he should, but from what I've seen, he does not. So I've seen his Requiem trigger, and he does not give it to himself. It's to a friendly troop. It should actually be to another friendly troop. So if he's the only
case,
yeah, exactly. I was very disappointed to see that happen, and then he's like, "Oh, Requiem to nobody." Awesome.
Yeah, in that case, it's not good, and they should fix that because otherwise, it's not bad.
Right.
He turns into a 3-5 without Berserker. You don't run Furioso Squad either, but on router on decks, but it's not a bad card.
Yeah.
And airlifted reserves, I really appreciate the fact that they made a tailor-made card for Meros, but I don't think it's what he needs because by the point he can play in for free, 3 cards are not gonna do anything for him. Meros actually doesn't have any problems in value. He has problems getting to the board and keeping tempo up so he doesn't get absolutely destroyed by the enemy warlords with his 30 HP.
Yeah, I feel like
that's his issue.
I feel like Airlifted Reserves is just missing something extra. Like the draw 3 cards, which can very quickly become a 0 with Meros, because it's going to trigger when he triggers Requiem, but that's it. Like, you're just getting 3 cards. Like, where's the, if their Astartes reduce their cost by 1, or, deal 2 damage, if there was just a little extra to that.
All right.
Yeah.
So overall, Blood Angels, I actually like. Well, there's Fire of Heaven, of course, also, which is very awkward. I guess it's like a target for supply lands, because now you can use them on 3 energy and have this on 4. But it just gets Nogator and you lose.
Yeah.
So I don't really like that. The Praetor, Blood Angels high cost troops are actually already really good. So he has a lot of competition there.
Especially at 7 energy.
Yes.
At 7 energy, he's got Sanguinary Guard breathing down his neck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's an option, like, I
Scary
guess,
guy.
if you don't have a full Blood Angels card pool and you pick up a 7 energy Praetor for common, that's good. But eventually,
for event.
Yeah, you eventually feel like he might get dropped once your card pool gets better. We kind of come full circle then, looking at the White Scars cards that were adding more to the streak concept. I think, I don't know. I mean, my part of my experience so far has been the event, but I do think that there have been some really good examples of how to combo streak here. I think that this is one of those missions that shines very well because it may be too well. Maybe the cost for streak triggering 7 times needs to be up to like 8 or 9.
Originally, you look at that and you're like, oh, that's too much. You have to draw half your deck to trigger it almost. But then you realize they gave them ways to duplicate troops with streak.
Yeah, or like, put cards back in your deck and then they're low cost, 0 cost. It's really doable. The danger to this versus any of the other missions so far is that this could come back to haunt you if you trigger it and you are playing streak stuff and then you overdraw. Like, that's probably the only downside to it.
Mm-hmm.
It actually happens fairly often. So I've made a deck that actually gets it consistently on turn 7 or 8 with Hibokan, and then you basically kill the opponent warlord in the next turn with the mission activated, like the reward activated, because it allows you to draw the rest of your deck, like the remaining 15 cards. You can all draw them all in that next turn, and they're all basically free. And then there's Sagari bikes, which they got new. The other fast troops that there was, like Tangahi bikes, and then Outriders, and then you just kill in one turn with the streak streaking combos and with a mission, and you just kill. And it's actually a pretty strong concept.
Yeah,
It just has a flaw in the fact that if you fail to do it properly, you die because you empty your deck completely, so you don't get another chance.
Which is sad, Dave.
Ride the winds.
Has any of you played Hearthstone before?
No, I have not.
I have witnessed my friends play it, and they try to explain me things, and I just go, no, I don't think I will.
Well, there was a card, well, a deck, an archetype in its early beginnings that basically was this exact deck, and it was the first nerf of the game. Like the first thing that warranted a nerf in the whole game. So yeah,
That's kind of impressive, to be honest.
the mission is very good, honestly. It's really
Oh, yeah.
achievable, and it's really good.
Yeah, I think so. I think out of the missions, I think I would probably put it at the top, because it's
No doubt.
it's not a win more. It actually helps you win. It's very achievable, probably too achievable. Like, I mean, I think it's something that could get scaled back and still be very good.
I think so too. Like at least 8 or 9, because you get it by turn 7, 8 consistently every game.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Even on ladder, like without the Jangsai warlord, on other warlords that don't get refill energy on streak, it's also very easy.
Yeah, because when you're talking about the event, I mean, Jangsai makes that even more problematic because he gets that energy kickback. So you can even get more energy just for playing street cards, which lets you play more street cards. So if you're able to do it on ladder, and if he ends up being the 5th warlord for White Scars, I wouldn't be disappointed. I don't know if he needs to be changed or not. I really like him creating a scout. I like the artwork. I think the details on his armor and how his armor is designed looks really cool. But I don't know about that energy kickback on streak. That seems too much.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit too strong, but he's cool.
Yeah.
I hope they adjust him somehow, but keep the concept the same.
Yep.
Because he's got a cool playstyle, in my opinion.
One thing I like about him, especially, because he's got medium initiative. So
yeah, he's slower than a Terminator Armor
Right.
Quincha.
Which is interesting, but he's got a better chance at getting the counterattack, which is a 0 energy tactic to help you kick up your streak.
I think that was intended.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that was very smart. I just don't know if it was too much. You know, like it was nice. Like if you give too much, just one extra little thing. I don't think it's huge because it's not like he's going to get it every game. There's going to be plenty of games where he doesn't get the counterattack, but on those ones that he does,
There's hell to pay.
yeah. Overall,
Very strong one too.
Overall, I liked a lot of the cards. For the White Scars, I liked the streak. I liked the mission. I would probably, I don't know, like if you had to pick a faction that wins the most, not counting the streak changes for White Scars. We're just talking the 6 cards released for the 6 factions. Which faction would you say feels like it won the most with this wave?
Personally, Imperial Fist, because all the other cards that are not the mission, I really liked it. I really like them. They synergize very well with Pollux, and that's the warlord I like the most. So
I'm torn between Imperial Fist and White Scars, because all the White Scar cards they got, well, I want to say they're all usable, but let me just pull up the one I'm thinking of right here.
maybe a couple ones are overpowered. Like,
Yeah, like they definitely won out, but they need to be tuned more. Imperial Fist came out perfect. Genuinely just good across the board. I'm gonna have to go with Imperial Fist as well. That's a good time.
I feel the same. I feel like on initial reveal, some people kind of like, but really, when you line up their cards and how they work as intended and work with what the faction does, compared to the others where it's a sidestep or it's like, okay, what are we trying to do here? Like, I really want to like the Death Guard stuff. The Death Guard's got a couple good cards, but they've got a couple of stuff that I'm not going to touch. Whereas I think I can make everything work for the Imperial Fist. I can make probably everything work for the White Scars, maybe everything work for the Sons of Horus, and then I would probably throw down World Eaters and Death Guard at the bottom. Although, to be fair, I don't think World Eaters are going to change much. I mean, it's nice that they've got some options. I just don't think they're going to change much. So, yeah, I feel like Imperial Fist at the top on that, too.
Because even like the one card in the Imperial Fist category that I don't really see that great that they got was Praetor Elijah. Same time, he's a 7/8 frontline, and his ability is going to give you a flanker. Like, he's still usable.
A flanker.
Imperial Fist Astartes with high cost were actually really bad. Like, Assault Echelon was really inefficient in what it did, and the others the same. Captain Lysander too. And this is actually, I think, the best Imperial Fist high cost Astartes. Like Praetor Elijah. He's not nothing out of this world, but I think he's the best now.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Kyrion Cataphract is really bad, in my opinion. And yeah.
Yeah, they've got ones where it's like, okay, well, why would you play this? Why wouldn't you just play something else? Like, if you're doing Astartes, for the most part, I think Pollux is the best one to do Astartes with because he makes Astartes. But if you're doing Astartes, you start low and you get stronger. And you don't rely on your big guys to the end. And I think the only big guy that you could say maybe would come in as the one that heals them all. And even then, that feels like at that point, you either should have a really solid lock so you don't need the healing, because Archimus can swing it. Like, if you drop Archimus and you've got 2 or 3 Garridan squads, you're good to go. And now you've got more fuel to help Archimus pump up, or at least keep alive to get to Archimus, or even, throw down just an extra stone gauntlet if you've got a stalwart defenders that went off on a couple extra guys. I'm excited to play them. I just haven't yet. I've been doing the event. I've been trying to make some stuff work with the Death Guard, but I'm going to get to the Imperial Fist next. I think the reason I haven't done the Imperial Fist, honestly, is they don't have a new warlord. So
yeah. Well, I mean, once we get Fafnir on, a certain Quebecois man will stop screaming at Spain.
You guys have for him? Hyped for him?
I'm only hyped for Fafnir because if we don't get him, Pirate will create a nuclear war.
I don't know who else we would get besides Fafnir at this point. I mean, I think Fafnir is interesting, and there's a lot of potential there. Especially if you're throwing in other cards that you aren't normally drafting. I don't know how quickly that would get changed. Like, I feel like they would have to change his ability to cost 2 energy instead of 1, though.
Yeah, I think he needs to change somehow. It's funny if the character comes out, like his face or whatever, but the ability really needs, because it's unhealthy. Let's be honest. Yeah. It's basically Karn with a different card pool, because he'll just end the game for good or bad on turn 6 or 7, stacking all the discard cards and be done with it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. A lot of low, cheap draw, and then some drilling sites to just double down on it. Orders from Terra, attack 12, deal 24 damage.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to see it happen once, but I don't want to see it happen and become the thing. I mean, we're already dealing with Korn's favorite cheese out there. We don't need more decks like that.
No.
Yeah.
Mr. Everguild may enjoy it, but I'll have to disagree with him there. I don't. It scares me.
Who do you think would be? Because I think from what we've seen in this event so far, it looks like we could get Ran, Jangsai, and Amit, and I feel like at least Ran and Amit are the only two. Well, no, for the Blood Angels, we could have to play for Crone, right? That was the guy who had the siege ability. He had like the silver face mask, which I think he was kind of cool looking. I don't know anything about his lore. I don't know who else we would have for options for the White Scars, since Solomon Khan is a card now, and Fafnir Ran is the only other warlord that I've seen.
I personally hope they change Amit, and that's why they're not releasing him yet, like they did with Draeger, or who did we get again for Sons of Horus?
Mar.
He wasn't. maybe they'll surprise us and change him. I mean, Fafnir Run, Amit, and whoever White Scar is gonna be. Because they got really creative with Draeger, and I hope that repeats itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Ahmed, as he is now, the game has progressed a lot more where he would not come out healthy. When he was, when the Blood Angels first released, it was like, oh, that's cool. He's kind of got Berserk, but you got the damage ability, and he's got a Rage, and okay, or not Rage, Requiem. But where the game is at now, it's like he doesn't have anything really going for him. It's all seems like he's kind of got things held against him. He's got Requiem that can damage his own guys. Can deal 2 damage, or he's got Berserk.
All 3 warriors that we got for the traders are really cool in my opinion, and I hope they repeat this with the loyalists.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah. We can hope.
That's
the
it.
key part.
That's all we gotta do. Just keep hoping. So overall, I think that covers the faction. That covers the White Scar stuff. Got this event, which I think we touched a little bit on, and I don't really want to go into it a whole lot because I really hope that by the time this episode comes out, they've adjusted Kumbaya bikes a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's all I gotta say about that. Yeah, we can dream. If Kumbaya bikes are still the thing, if people are kumbing all over the place and on top of each other's chests and stuff, if that's what's going on, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that's still happening. But if it isn't, then, good. But we can talk about it next week. See how the event wraps up. Because I don't know these... I mean, the rewards are cosmetics. They look cool. I don't think, it's not going to change the game which side wins. So, play what wins.
I want Angron's boys, though, because that Butcher's Nail card back is...
Mwah, mwah, it's beautiful.
I wasn't around when I was around. I haven't seen it. So now that this is my first time seeing it, and I love it.
It does look nice. I like it. Well, Rubers, when you're not playing Legions, what else do you do?
Well, I'm actually pretty busy lately with my career and my studies, and I also got a day job. So yeah, I pretty much play Legions on the way to places, like on the bus, on the public transport. And yeah, otherwise I'm just trying to earn some money I get through my studies. So yeah, that's pretty much my life, honestly. Not too happy with the level of excitement I enjoy on my daily basis, but yeah, also play some video games like Horus Heresy Legions. You might have heard of it.
Really? I don't think I've come across that one.
Yes, other card games too. For example, Legends of Runeterra, I'm still playing. It's a really good card game, and I really like it. It doesn't have lodges though, so the community isn't as strong as in Horus Heresy Legends, and that's honestly what I like the most about it. But anyways, I also like to host tournaments on the Horus Heresy Legends Discord. I'm one of the tournament organizers, and I've been preparing some new format for new players, where only players below 3,000 legendary points are allowed to enter. You won't have to face Spellbreaker or any of the veterans. You will need to find new excuses if you lose, so that's also good. A double-edged sword.
I love to have a Spellbreaker. Is that 2 podcasts in a row where we've had one, Adam?
I think so.
Yeah, I was remembering this right now. Yeah, he liked being so recognized.
Oh, I was gonna say like that. It's good to have the to get those tournaments out there for the newer players, especially with new expansions. Some of the players are coming back because they want to see what these new cards are about. So if we've got tournaments to kind of like, hey, you know what, catch up, play whatever you've got, and you play at your tier level, and maybe get some rewards, get some gold or whatever. Like that's cool. So good.
Yeah,
but this one isn't for returning veterans at all. This one is just for new players that don't really have a collection. You need to also be below level 70 in the game to be allowed to participate. So either 3,000, well, both at the same time, lower than 3,000 legendary points and level 70. So you'll be facing against other players that aren't really experienced, haven't been really playing all that many tournaments, and don't really have that big of a collection. So it's evenly matched.
No, good. I hope people keep playing with the tournaments. We try to plug those here as often as we can, especially when we've got like a big series coming up or there's a new format. I know I'm going to be planning on doing a Bar Night Legions in probably 2 to 3 weeks, and I'm going to try to schedule it again for like an earlier time like we did this month. Got a couple extra people, I think. So, that'd be nice to make it a little bit more friendly for the European crowd. But, playing tournaments.
And what we need to do is get Mr. Everguild. Please, if you're listening, we will have you on BNL.
Send him an invite. I don't know, maybe he wants to get some nog.
Tell us company secrets.
It's the holiday season, you can have your nog and brandy and play Legions 2. Whether you're playing for gold or just a Miodmeister title. But, I think that's the big part with the community is, these are all community run. These aren't in the game. There's no other way to do that, but it is sponsored by Everguild, which is really cool. And just getting that word out, just trying to get people to be aware that these are options for you. If you think that if you're intimidated by the concept of it, don't be, because it's easier than you think.
Definitely. So I think this is a pretty good opportunity to get into tournaments. Never been better.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And there's also an expanded prize pool. Like you might have heard from the last podcast, the more players there are in a tournament, the bigger the prizes are. Even prizes for people outside the first 4 placings. So
be like me. Get 4th place every tournament and get 1,000 gold. Easy, folks.
Is it possible? Because I don't know when all these tournaments run, so I'm just kind of curious, and I'll ask this question now. I don't know what the answer could be, but does that have to count people who register and play all the way through, or does it just count people who registered and played at least like one game before dropping?
Yes, it also counts.
Yeah,
tournaments, you should play them. You may up rewards. That's worth it. There's no suspicious things going on.
Right.
So think big and bring your whole load.
There you go.
Get all 64 people so you can have that ridiculously large tournament for the rewards.
Yeah, yes. We can't do it all the time, because I think if you do it every tournament, there'll be some eyebrows raised. Although, to be fair, if you have that many people, 32 of them are going to advance.
To one tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that tournament's gonna last 6 hours, but B, if 64 people, from the regular 10 to 20, suddenly shoots to 64, eyebrows will raise no matter what.
Yes.
Well, someone will have to win. And not everyone can give up instantly. So.
Right. Exactly. You have to have a couple dummy guys go in, and actually you have to have a couple ringers who are actually going to play, and then you got your regular crowd who actually is just curious.
So that will work out, honestly. It will be fine with me, honestly.
I'll try it out. We'll see. Give me immediate feedback on it.
Yeah.
So this tournament that I talked about will be taking place on the 17th of December at, I can't really specify the time, because that changes depending on where you may be listening to this podcast in.
Right.
Thanks for not saying something like a week or now, because we do
tomorrow in 2 hours.
Yeah, because we record these in advance and stuff, so that would have just given a good date. Beautiful.
Yeah, roughly that should give everybody about a week and a half to prepare or be aware to put that on their calendar and still play it. So that's plenty of time to still hype it up.
Yes, 17th of December. And you can just contact me in Discord. I'm Rubersmoon, same name as it sounds. And you can just ask me anything about it, and I'll gladly answer you.
All right. You have anything else you'd like to plug?
Well, not really. I've got a buddy called Pirate Lahaye. He's started his YouTube and Twitch career for Horus Heresy Legends recently. So, and he's actually a pretty funny guy, honestly. He may not be as good as me playing the game, of course, but he's got a pretty good sense of humor. So you guys should definitely check him out. Also, Mr. Midnight. There's one guy called like that also, and he's also pretty funny. I get a laugh out of him from
Long
time
time
to time.
viewers
So
will know both these people. They were guests we had. Great people.
yeah, so yeah, you should support the YouTube and Twitch community because it's growing steadily and it's headed to great places.
Yeah,
it is good to see the community. Like, we've got some people who've stopped doing content over the years, but we've got just as many making more content and on more platforms. So there's so many different ways to follow up on it. If you're curious and you want to see, there's, we got players on Twitch. We've got players that are making videos, and some of them are high level, like just covering specific games, like the World Cup recently or the Lodge Wars 5 coverage. And you've got guys who are just, doing decks and event runs, or even, campaign stuff. So lots of stuff out there. And I know for me, like on my page, I went through, what I like to try to do is if I can, I try to put them on my page and like recommend it, so that way everybody's got a link for all the Horus Heresy Legions community. But that just is the YouTube channels. I can't do a direct link to Twitch and stuff like that. So you might have to dive a little bit further if you're looking for those channels.
folks, you may have to do some digging. But trust me, if you want to hear Quebecois man get extremely drunk, it's worth it.
Yeah, I like how his tag is just like, join me for beers. Beers and cards, that's the best stuff. That's where it's just fun, man. Just have fun.
He knows his target audience.
Yeah, that's
also,
right.
if you like gutsy music and questionable themes on the videos, you should check Lamia's channel out. He's a pretty good player too. Also, Scoof is the...
Oh, if you're watching Lamia, I do recommend turning down
might
the
know.
audio.
Yeah.
Turning down the audio
Yes.
slightly.
Well,
Great guy,
if you're going
but,
there, it's because you enjoy his theme. So
Great guy, but I like listening. So I kind of lower the volume a bit and then up it again.
yeah, and that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, Axel, you got anything to plug?
You know, I'm going to do the usual. I'm going to plug our boy Dornstash. He makes this my beautiful little profile picture. That's Drew Lee Clark and Dornstash on Instagram. 2 different accounts, but one 40K themed, one's not. You can probably figure them out.
All right. Well, I
Like
myself...
that, there's midweek tournaments every midweek now, boys. You got to get in on that.
Yeah. I myself am going to plug deck slots here because, guys, we don't have them, and we were supposed to have them. I got a message from the Everguild community manager right before the expansion released that we were supposed to get 12 deck slots with this expansion, and they did not arrive. So I messaged him like on the second minute of the expansion release, and I was like, "Where's those cards? Where's those slots?" And he's like, "Uh-oh, I have to talk to somebody." So I haven't heard back yet. I don't know if they're coming or not. So until they do come, and even when they do come, honestly, 12 slots, that's not enough. We need 18. We got 18 legions that are getting new cards. We need 18 slots. And actually, we probably need 24. To be honest, we need 24. But I'll take 30.
You know, I keep saying this. We just got to remove deck slots at this rate. You have an addiction, and the road to salvation at this point is just removing them. You have a problem.
Y'all got any more of those deck slots?
You're going down to Skin City trying to find deck slots.
That's it. I'm like, come on, just give me a slot, just one slot. And he's...
That sounds so bad.
But that's it. That's all I've got. Rubersmoon, thank you for joining us. Making the time a couple times because we had a split here between recording, and I appreciate your availability. And it's been good talking with you. I know I had you on. I think I initially had you on for Raven Guard, and we might still get to have you back on when we get to Raven Guard.
If you want to be there, we'll have you.
Yeah, especially because that's one of those factions you like to play.
Yes, one of my favorite ones.
All right,
definitely.
I'll keep you on the schedule because it's always good to talk to players, especially players we haven't talked to before. But when we've got a topic that's really in somebody's wheelhouse too, it's always nice to hear from them and hear their experience and their thoughts on it, whether it's lore or whether it's play style or both. So yeah.
Well, thanks you for having me here. It was a pleasure. I was actually really eager to be here. It's been a while since I've been following the podcasts.
Hey, that's good to hear.
Yeah, that is good to hear.
We got some loyal listeners, like our recent one. Any update on him, Scuff? I need to know. Is our man going to everything?
Yeah, I think he stopped with the second day with the new the podcast with the Q&A. I don't know. At least he's not commenting on all of them, but I'm still continuing to get some routine downloads. Overall, like I was taking a look at the stats for that episode, for the Q&A episode, which is not our highest yet. It's only week 1, but I think between the views on the YouTube channel as well as the downloads, it has over 900. 950 last time I checked, which is really good because usually it's like 300. So that's good. Hopefully some of those folks are returning listeners or will come back and check out things down the road, or like our new admirer went back and started listening to episodes on the rest of the catalog. So yeah,
podcasts are good. You can just put that in the background, have some noise while you do your daily chores. You go on a bus. It's low maintenance. You get to learn some stuff.
That's just like it. You know, when radio died, podcasts were the next thing. And eventually podcasts will die and there'll be something else. But until then.
I thought video killed the radio star.
Video did kill the radio star. I don't know what killed the radio DJ, though. Like, was it podcasts?
Me. I personally.
I went down to the station and I choked him out.
It had to be done.
Well, thank you again, Rubers, for joining us. And that's all I've got.
Bye.
It was enough.
Bye.
A magnificent ending.
This has been another episode of the Warp Chatter Podcast. Thank you for listening.
Yes. Shh. It's over. Don't fight it.